Deleted session, May 28, 1979. Good evening. Now, at one point or another, your private reality becomes to some extent a public one, to one degree or another, as it is viewed by and participated in by others. You show a certain picture of yourself to the world. You trace certain characteristics and show them to others. There are habitual patterns of behavior that operate. As you more or less stabilize your picture of yourself in relationship with families and friends, sometimes that picture is a fairly faithful representation, and sometimes people make artificial portraits of themselves, and instead of speaking for themselves to others, they let their artificial portraits do it for them. Sometimes to protect themselves because of their beliefs, people then form distorted portraits of themselves and project these outward to take life's arrows, so to speak. The real personality, however, is never satisfied with such a procedure and seeks a much fuller, freer expression. Many illnesses are physically experienced, facades that are meant to alter the person's relationship with the world. They act often like barriers or coats of armor, and according to the situation, another person must first confront this condition or coat of armor. If he ever hopes to establish contact with the personality, I hope that is clear. Now, Robert has had such a condition. For many reasons often given, he is trying to free himself. To do so, he must change his own reality, alter his feeling of relationship with himself and between himself and others, his physical situation. The symptoms are public to the extent that others know he has difficulties. New sentence. When attempts are made to change that reality, then the reality of family and friends is also changed to some extent. Your dreams and thoughts allow you, ever so subtly, to change your own views of Rupert's behavior. You see him operating normally, so has Tim. Incidentally, such dream behavior helps to break the heavy-handed straits of daily physical evidence. Exterior changes begin on the inside and appear then physically, are not the other way around. When Rupert has such dreams, his muscles and joints react in sleep, mimicking normal actions, and he might be sore than usual upon awakening, because in sleep, at such times, now, without the weight of his body, standing and so forth, the muscles and joints will make motions of a releasing nature quite painlessly in the dream state. Sometimes waking consciousness will vaguely be aware of the motions, and because they are expected to bring discomfort, they do. Such dreams on Rupert's part bring one vital message, that he can walk normally, and that this can be easily brought about. In some of the dreams, he is surprised that he can perform so well. In others, he takes it for granted, as in your well-noted Boy Scout dream. In waking life, however, you have both been literally hypnotized by the idea that such a recovery is one of the hardest things in the world to achieve. In the waking state, Rupert believes that he cannot walk properly. In the dream state, he holds no such beliefs. Now he wanted to hold such beliefs because he felt he needed that quite painful facade to protect himself from his own spontaneity, and then to protect himself against the world, because he felt he was too spontaneous. The answer was to cut down on physical spontaneity. Spontaneity is easy, so we will make it hard. We believe it is the most difficult thing in the world. I have given endless material on that, privately and through your dreams and soothes. Ruber with your help in the dream state sees that motion can be and is easy. He responds telepathically to your dreams. Let us look at his painting. He digs into it. Let's present one. Concentrate. Forgets how much he loves to paint and considers all the problems involved in a new technique, and considers how he can never be as good as you in that regard. He uses effort. He forgets his ease, and the same thing applies to trying to get better. Psycho-cybernetics is a good handbook, very simplified, with some distortions, but its premise is quite correct. You do hypnotize yourself into such situations. I want to make a point that Ruber can often interpret relaxation as depression, because the loss of tension can still be frightening. You have actually helped in that regard. The dreams show your activity in framework too, and again, may I recommend on Ruber's part some sense of creativity in his physical situation? Even suggestions should be given playfully, not heavy-handedly, for his point of power exercises have him just playfully for 5 minutes pretend, knowing that it is again that he feels perfectly normal and relaxed. Let him consider impulses also playfully, not looking at each one as if it were as important as the ending of the world. Now, remember that while your dreams occur one night at a time, their logic is timeless. You may deal with several issues over several nights. You're hearing the voice of God dream. Rob noted this morning. Say said, and your fast car dream. Rob noted of the morning before. They said were then related. The beginning of our sessions represents to you your own version of hearing the voice of God, in that you felt that it was the first time in your life that in whatever guise some portion of the universe had a message for you, or that you were in contact with anything beyond the ordinary, that at least held hopes for a glimpse of any real knowledge beyond the known. The trooper, elevated from the ground in the car dream, was another dream version carrying the thing further, though it actually occurred, I believe, before the God dream. Rob noted, the morning before. They said, do you follow me? Rob said, yes. They said, in this dream, you are given permission by a somewhat elevated authority to go faster than the other people along Water Street. You are told more or less that you can go faster without harm. Yet the dream itself poses a question, for it does not seem that you actually cover the ground to the red light at Hoffman Street any faster. The question is why. Of course, if you have been given permission to go faster, then why have you and Ruber not covered the physical ground faster? Or why do you still have problems? Since you have been given such permission, why have you not learned faster? The answer, of course, is that the permission you were given to go faster applied to a completely different dimension of motion and activity. You actually interpret it in more mundane terms than was meant, and because you so interpreted it, The end result was that you did not seem to cover the ground any faster than others. The speed applied to the energy generated by framework 2, energy that transforms the road or ground so that you do not have to travel the road in the same old fashion. That is, I am answering the dream's question. The idea of the stations, accepted on their own merits, applies easily. You cannot make them apply. You allow them to flow. Your father dreamed. Your father resented your father, but he also stood for your version of the race. Ralph noted species, they said, of man itself, of the nameless old man seemingly worn down by age, the lack of communication between nameless fathers and sons. Yet the old man does sleep in a gigantic shoe that is also like a cradle, from which he and all of civilization continue to emerge. Your question was why the lack of communication and compassion, the inarticulateness of love, and as you consoled your father, you tried to console humanity. And how? Through expression of the words, but also through your art. For you saw all art as an expression of love, a love in which the old man and civilization was ultimately held. The withered foot, Ralph noted, of my father, they said, resented any and all deformities, and the great gap you felt existed between man's ideal and his actualization of it. End of session, and a hearty good evening. Ralph said thank you, good night, Seth.